Join spiritual psychologist and India's #1 biofeedback practitioner, Ritu Malhotra, as she guides you through the paths of self-discovery and personal transformation so that you can live in alignment with your values and purpose. This podcast is brought to you by AJNA Center for Learning. To know more about AJNA and connecting with the host, check out the links given in show notes. You are listening to the Cellular Alchemist podcast, and here's your host, Ritu Malhotra.
Is ignorance truly bliss? The answer is obvious, I think. Will you be happier when you know how many kids died of starvation in Bihar? Or if you don't? Or let's say, will you be happier if you know your friend is safe in their new home? Or if you're told that they have terminal cancer? Will someone be happier knowing they're the best at playing chess, or if they're told they're the worst? It's something to think about. Oftentimes, ignorance can make you happier because for you it changes the world as it is, isn't it? Also, as with everything else, we need to walk the tightrope of a fine balance. I say this all the time because I think balance is the art that we are all seeking. You know, there's a Russian saying that goes, the less I know, the better I sleep. Living in this hyper FOMO world that surrounds me, I tend to agree with this. Another important point to consider is whether we are aware of our ignorance or not. Generally speaking, if I'm aware that I'm lacking information in some area, it's okay, it's fine. It starts to become an issue when we are ignorant about something, but we don't realize it. Like some of our politicians, for instance. It's okay to say, I don't know. Did you ever try admitting that? I know that I'm doing it more and more. It takes a certain courage to say it. Recently, I was at a literary festival where a moderator brought up the touchy subject of bad reviews. And the very famous author, Jhumpa Lahiri, confessed that she'd broken down in tears when she'd heard one of these reviews. So the panel's consensus was that one should avoid reading reviews in general for one's peace of mind. But this moderator was determined to continue and question Lahiri again. So she said, what if a reviewer really wants to know what you thought of your book? And what if they tag you on the reviews? Lahiri, who is famous for being a social media averse person, said, what's a tag? And the audience erupted in laughter. She actually said, I don't know what a tag is in this day and age. So I think it's a privilege to survive in this world today with this level of seclusion from social media. For most people, it's no longer an option actually, when a lot of business is done based on social media following. What do you think? I think what we need is a new vocabulary now. But first, we need to define for ourselves what information means to us. If you scroll through Facebook at the endless pet and baby videos, to some people that is information. I understand. Celebrity gossip or the most expensive travel destination, that is information too. But I think we all have a sense that educating ourselves about our economy, history, or psychology is qualitatively different. The question is, how do we filter out the junk and how do we make choices on what to focus on? The fact is that we are limited beings and we will only ever get to know a tiny fraction of what there really is to know in this wide world. Another question we can ask ourselves is that would we be happier if we deliberately ignored the non-junk info, the vital news or data that make our lives whole? The answer is no. We would certainly lose out on the valuable effect that it could have in our lives positively. So we need to ask ourselves, how can I find a balance in my world that is inundated with too much? It's too much of too much. Happiness is a skill. The ability to find equanimity in a troubled world, it can be learned. And it does not require shutting the world out or guarding ourselves against feeling compassion for the suffering of others. Though it does require that we make some choices and realize that we will never be able to read all that we think is important to know or be all that the world tells us we could be. I'm signing off for now. You be well.
That was this week's episode for the Cellular Alchemist podcast with spiritual psychologist Ritu Malhotra. Don't forget to follow the podcast and join us next week for yet another episode. Thank you for listening.